Hello, my name is Hector Mestre from Mestre Quality Studio. Today I'm going to talk about a pretty delicate subject between recording, mastering, and mix engineers. And it is, what's better, to mix in the box or to mix hybrid? Throughout the whole video I'm going to be giving my personal opinion. But my personal opinion is that whatever you feel comfortable in, then that's what you should do. I have done it both. My studio, I have it ready for mixing hybrid, and I also have it ready, of course, to mix in the box. I have many plugins from Waves, from Universal Audio. Some of my favorite plugins are from Universal Audio. Or I would say 90% of my sessions are mixed with Universal Audio plugins. I really like them, and because they have a lot of imitations of actual hardware, and I like hardware. First of all, to mix hybrid, you either need a great summing mixer or an actual recording mixer. This is not a regular mixer. A studio mixer is just not a regular mixer that you would pack up and take and to mix over at a concert. It's not the same thing. These mixers, they weigh a lot. The parts that are inside, they're a little different. Everything, the layout of inside the console is much different. They have, some of them have, depends on the op amps. The preamps are much heavier. The mixers that you take for doing live sound, everything is made to be light, and yeah, they do have a great sound, but they're not made with all the op amps and all the specifics to a recording mixer. Studio mixers are much cleaner than the regular mixers that you see. Some mixers have transformers, usually mixers that you record or do gigs without. They don't have transformer. They're usually transformerless. So there is a big difference. I started a couple of weeks ago mixing an acoustic song. It had guitars, it had violins, it had acoustic bass, horn section, trumpets, the vocals, and the second vocal. It was a great song. And I started mixing that in the computer. And then I moved over to the console, and I started getting a great sound. I use TC Electronics, I use WA76, which is based on the 1176. I use my Chameleon Labs, I use Rupert Neve, I use DBX, my TC Electronic rack effect unit, my Lexicon. I used it all up. I used the EQs from the console, and it happened. The song sounded beautiful. The song sounded very nice. I finished it, I turned in the job. It just did it perfect. But then again, I closed that mix, I was done with it, and I started mixing another song that I had to do. That song, I said, let me throw everything through the console. You have to remember that when you mix hybrid, you're gonna add noise to the path. There's different things that, yeah, on the console sounds nice, but you add some noise because you're going out of Pro Tools, out of the interface into the console and going back in. And if you have a bus compressor, that bus compressor is gonna make, no matter what, that noise that's on the floor of the console is gonna make it louder, no matter what, because that's what compressors do. When you start using in the inserts, compressors and all that stuff, that's still gonna put more sound noise in. The EQs from the console is gonna do it. So what happened? When I started mixing this next song, everything was acoustic. It was a much bigger section of horns, percussion. Just overall, it was a huge session. So I started mixing there, and I just saw it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. I didn't see the mix getting glued together. So I went right back to the computer. And let me tell you, I took a week. I took a week on that song, trying to push things, trying to do this, trying to do that. And it wasn't happening. So I switched back and I put everything in the box. Right away, the song started sounding beautiful. I used in the bus compressor for in the master bus. I used a Neve 606, what is it, 33609, something like that, from Universal Audio. That compressor is great. It's very warm. The attack is not fast, it's pretty slow, but it started gluing the session together, something that my analog external compressor wasn't doing. It did it for the song before, but it's just I moved away from the analog into the box for that song. And I think it just all depends. Now, let me tell you, if you do receive a session that was recorded with excellent quality, with excellent preamps, if you receive a drum set that was recorded with, API preamps, or Rupert Neves, or Universal Audio, the Manley, just the great preamps, and you have a great sound, you don't need to go out. You don't need to go out because, it's probably gonna make whatever you want, you're gonna have it on the console, but you really don't have to. The sound already sounds great. It sounds very analog. If you use all that type of equipment, it's gonna sound very analog, whether you mix it in the box or not. My preference is most of the time I mix in the computer, in the box, because I don't have much time to be mixing out here. A lot of the things that I do in the mixer are much smaller sessions that have to do with more guitar driven, not rock, but more acoustic, how would call it, just more acoustic song. That's what I would mix here, and then I'll use some external preamps, and I'll use some compressors even from the computer, EQs, or it don't matter. The point is that whatever you feel comfortable in, that's what you should mix in. Don't ever let yourself be told that it's better to mix hybrid than to mix in the box, because in the box it doesn't sound that good. I would say that was back in the days when Pro Tools started. They didn't have great plugins, so they had to depend on big SSLs, Neves, APIs, even Harrison. There's many great consoles out there, and they had to depend on that stuff to make things sound good. But we have companies like Wave Audio, and we have Universal Audio, we have Slate Digital. They all have beautiful plugins, beautiful EQs, reverbs, you name it. Especially Universal Audio, that they do a lot of recreation of actual analog gear. I find that is really awesome. This console is based on a Trident console. Okay, and this is a Toft Audio ATV32, great console. But even they sell the plugins for this console within the Universal Audio plugins, which is the Trident. And I do actually like the physical touch of the actual plugin. Not plugin, but the actual EQ from the console, than to use the plugin one. But I love the Harrison plugins that Universal Audio have. I love the EQ from Harrison. I love the Neve. I love the LA2A compressors. I love them. So sometimes I think, or I see myself mixing more in the box, because it is happening, is doing what I needed to do, and it's dividing the sound. Back in the days, you would mix hybrid when you had Pro Tools, because you needed something to break that digital, how would call it, that digital sound that they had back in the days, because they didn't, let's put it like this, the interface back in the days, they were good, but now they are better. Even a cheaper unit sounds better than a very expensive unit of 20 years ago. So there is a different, technology has gotten much better, plugins have gotten much better, EQs. So a lot of professional engineers that I even follow myself, they have switched all the way to be in the box. They travel. A lot of, I bet you if I put 2 songs and I tell you this one was mixed digital and this one was mixed hybrid, a lot of times you wouldn't even tell. I wouldn't even tell. I guess it's just by personal preferences. Back in the days, yeah, you could tell because the sound was smaller. A lot of people, being realistic, didn't have back then the money to buy, you know, a mixing console and all that stuff. So they started coming out with what they call summing mixers. They're great. You know, many companies make beautiful ones, and I'm glad for that. I'm pretty prepared for both. I don't mind both. Whatever you choose, whatever floats your boat, that's the way to go. I mean, you know, if that's the way you like it, then you do it like that. My opinion is that if I feel comfortable in one session mixing hybrid, then I'll do it. If there's another section that I feel that is not just happening, then I'll go back to the box. Just how I said before, you add more noise to the path when you are mixing a hybrid. What I do, since I myself, I prefer mixing in the box a lot of the times. I would say 90% of the time or 95% of the time is because you can actually do recall. I can finish today and I can close this session that my computer fell asleep. I can close this session, save it, and that's it. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything to the console because it's gonna do recall back up again. But when you mix analog or hybrid, it's a totally different monster. So what I do in my area, what I do is I push all the faders up. I just put them up. People are gonna tell me, why do you do that? That's gonna add more sound. Well, in this console, actually in the specifications, they tell you that the further you push the fader, the better the sound of the console it is. And that's in every super analog console, like just professional recording console. So I just push it all the way to the top. It's pretty quiet. This console is pretty quiet. And I just mix in Pro Tools while my console is receiving. If I want to use any EQs from here, I can, and I just start switching whatever I want to switch. Either if I want to use a compressor from the computer, I'll do it. If not, then I just use one externally, or I could just do a mix of both. I've done it before. So it just all depends. Whatever your choice is, whatever you want, you can just do it. Just always remember, once you go out the computer into the analog world, what they call it, you're gonna add more noise to the session or to your mix. So all depends. All depends. Well, guys, it was my pleasure to make another video for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notification, and hit like, share this video, and any discussion that you want to have or any information that you want to ask me, please leave comments below and I'll answer as soon as possible. Thank you.